Pinkies up and welcome back to another episode of Proper Play. This is Guild Wars 2, Retelling Living Story Season 1. I've already done one episode. This is the second episode titled Flamin' Frost. Living Story 1 was filled with some very memorable moments, and this particular episode of Flamin' Frost spanned it over a 3-month period. After the Guild Wars community celebrated Winter's Day event in 2012, which Winter's Day is what we're celebrating currently, unexplained storms began moving across the Shiver Peaks, homeland of the Norn, the Comin, and some Quaggan. Also, some parts of Diessa Plateau was also hit by these mysterious storms. Little did we know that this was going to lead into a major string of events that was known as Flamin' Frost. Now, the combination of Flamin' Frost should not be unfamiliar to recent players and those of you that watch my channel. I called Coldrak and Ritlock Fire and Ice. Currently we have Primordius, the Fire Dragon, and Jormag, the Ice Dragon, active in the world of Tyria. So, what was this meaning of introducing the two opposite yet dangerous elements? The storms and attacks caused refugees to seek refuge in the capital cities of Holbrick and the Black Citadel. We as players would notice refugees appearing in Diessa Plateau and the Wayfarer Foothills and outside of the cities of Holbrick and the Black Citadel. Now what I mean by this is we would normally go through our gameplays and refugees would start showing up with dialogue we never heard before, basically talking about being attacked. So it was really interesting. It was learned by these refugees that these were not mere storms, but attacks. With attacks happening at the same time, you would think it'd been caused by one foe. But with stories between the Char and the Norn who witnessed it being so different, it was ignored due to the thought that the storms caused shock to those victimized by it. Some stories passed on were that they were witnessed dredge using fire magic, while others said that the damage was caused by tremors and steam from underground. Now, to clarify, the dredge typically do not use fire magic. They use guns and tunnel themselves underground to avoid attacks and to sneak up on you. They are commonly seen in the Shiver Peaks region in caves and such. They were more fitting for the attacks causing the tremors, but that was noticed in the Charlands, Diessa, and no dredge were seen during these attacks. The refugee count began to rise, and some started to seek shelter in Lion's Arch. Unlikely help came from the consortium to the refugees in the city, which was interesting knowing the company's past and more recent history of events. Something just didn't fit right. With me as a player looking from the out and the characters who were involved in our story, even more so, the consortium began offering homes to those in need in the new discovered and still dangerous South Sun Cove. Attacks continued, but more heavy and causing more casualties. It was now noticed that the Flame Legion were involved in the Diessa attacks, but they were using dredge technology. Putting two and two together, most assumed, due to the prior stories of the dredge using fire magic, that the two already dangerous factions had already formed an alliance. This was confirmed to be the case when out in the field we had battle with both simultaneously. We found out that they were calling themselves the Molten Alliance. The Char of the Black Citadel put together a war council to figure out the best way to handle the situation in their respective area. The Order of the Whispers and the Vigil also began working on the issue their own way, no one working together. In running with the Order of the Whispers, they infiltrated the camps of the alliances with double agents, gathering intel on what they were doing and where they were attacking next. The Vigil stood strong to find out the key bases to their operations. It was here during the War Council that we were introduced to a major character in the current living story, Brom. Brom intervened in the Char's meeting requesting help. Though Brom had a valid argument, he was turned away by the council. He ended up mentioning that he was the son of Eris the Galkin. Air was a member of the famous Destiny's Edge, and her guild team member was in attendance of the meeting, Ritlock Brimstone. Ritlock was infuriated by the news that this young man had claimed to be the son of Air, and rightfully so. He's known Air for years, and she made no mention of ever having offspring of any kind. Brom was sent away and told to request aid from his own people. Char lands were already spread thin and was unable to help this young man. The Char was already fighting the Flame Legion as it was, and when it came down to it, them adding dredge technology to their arsenal made them very dangerous foe, and fighting them through the lands definitely proved that. Brom received no better treatment from his own people. When he went to Holbrook to request aid, he met with Newt Whitebear. And Newt wasn't being an ass. Alright, Newt felt that seeing the string of attacks that Holbrook would be the next target, and they had to basically, they were already lightly numbered due to those fighting the Jormag minions already at that time, which they're still fighting to this day. Being home in Holbrook raised the question of why Brom would not ask his mother for aid. She was a legend in Holbrook, and definitely would have been able to pull some reinforcements together for her son. But Brom, when we talked to him, would have none of it. It was here that we learned that Brom had an unknown resentment for his mother and would rather do this alone than to ask her for help. This should be no surprise seeing recent events regarding Brom's decision making in Living Story Season 3. He's kind of a stubborn ass. That's honestly why I like him. Though with no backup for his cause, Brom still decided to take a handful of warriors to retake his hometown of Craigstead, but not without the Molten Alliance taking a few hostages. Brom's efforts and heroics raised the morale of his people in Craigstead. Craigstead is the area that you see in front of Sif right now. That's the area that Sif. It's not an area that you can go to in game currently. It's closed off. But that was the hometown of Brom, or I guess you can still say is, but that's where he was. That's the place that was attacked by the Molten Alliance, and that's the place that he retook. So that is the home of Brom right there. In Charlands, the continued War Council was showing little results, and we are now introduced to another main character in the living story, also good friend of Brom, Rox. Rox was a female Char that had recently lost her warband to a mining accident. The whole warband. She was given a task of retaking Nolan Hatchery as an initiation into the Stone Warband, which was headed by Ritlock himself. Nolan Hatchery was a stronghold and was a station that provided siege devourers to the Legion. Rox was successful in her quest, and in this task she met a baby albino devourer named Frostbite. Frostbite is the baby devourer that you see with Rox in the Living Story episodes. Agent Brondab of the Order of the Whispers was able to uncover a plot for the Molten Alliance, where digging tunnels underground heading east, south, and west. The Molten Alliance did not let up on the battle, taking prisoners, in which some were locked away, if they were lucky. The others were being used in weapon testing the unstable new technologies of the Dredge and the Flame Legion. A weakness was also exploited as the Flame Legion did not like being underground and away from the sun. This is going back to why it was so hard to believe that the two unlikely factions would have formed, but something or someone drove them together. But for what cause?
Underground facility. Strange. Reading myriad signals. And who is that with you? A Norn boy and a female Char?
Guys, okay, don't follow too close. It's a bit high price. Here we go.
Rox and Brom joined forces with Sif, the commander, after discovering an entrance to the molten base. The steam that was witnessed earlier was actually caused by fire tech that was being used to dig underground.
Mine too. I mean, you know what I mean.
Believe me.
We're testing weapons here.
Spitz, I know him.
Back off! I'm working! Wait, intruders! Intruders! Finally, an interactive audience! New test subjects have arrived. They're tiny.
Hey! whole bracket. Maybe both.
It's all
We have to
skill
get out of
and
here
a
and
little
warn
luck.
them.
Strange. I'm reading energy spikes all around you, but I can only observe ambient geothermal effects.
Might and glory. Might and glory. You killed my minion.
Oh, we're so dead. We can handle them. Spread out.
Oh, that explains the fight. Those two
Yeah.
dealt with
Target high.
The Molten Alliance was mining underground and detonating explosives, collapsing facilities above them. After the war, the Dredge and the Flame Legion revealed that the Molten Alliance was run by someone in the city, though who they were is unknown at this time.